Thank you, Sharon. Now moving on, members of parliament have begun the quest to reinforce the national government constituency development fund in the constitution. In the myriad of reactions elicited before the House during the debate, the lawmakers asserted that the fund should be entrenched in the law as it has proved to be effective in transforming constituencies. The bill, co-sponsored by Matumbulo, Member of Parliament Stephen Mule, and his Gishungu counterpart Robert Gishumu, is pushing for the re-establishment of the fund and its anchoring into law to avert disruptions on technicalities of the law. Nerima Wekesa brings us that story.
On the eve of the August 9th general election, the Supreme Court rendered a verdict, declaration the Constituency Development Fund Act of 2013 unconstitutional. That judgment by the country's top judges, leaving parliamentary candidates in a spin with their fund grassroots success stories and political influence well documented.
And it sounded like a bombshell. Mine is, first of all, to assure members that all is not lost. All is not lost. CDF largely, I must say, largely has done wonders in the country. In its judgment, the Supreme Court cited 7 key reasons: violation of the principle of separation of power between the 3 arms of government, executive, judiciary, and parliament. The apex court judges also declared that the fund operated outside the structure of sharing revenue between the national government and 47 county governments. Members of the 13th Parliament insist the constitutional gaps had been plugged by the Ng-Cdf Act of 2015.
The CDF that we have been using as or operating under was aligned in 2015, and that is why the name CDF was changed to Ng-Cdf, National Government CDF.
We need to actually increase it. We need to make it more, we need to improve on it so that we can have it being serving the society better than it has been doing.
Therefore, the members of parliament now want the entrenchment of the Constituency Development Fund in the Constitution might be country's first successful amendment to the 2020 Constitution. Members of the National Assembly want the CDF and other funds, including the Senate Oversight Fund, the Affirmative Action Fund, and the Economic Stimulus and Empowerment Fund, ring-fenced in the Constitution. Members of parliament defended CDF for transforming the education sector in the country, more so for the unprivileged in society.
With or without the CDF, the members of parliament have their salaries. And in fact, without the CDF, the workforce, the task is reduced. But Mr. Speaker, as we speak today, every day, and I'm sure I speak for all the members here, we get no less than 100 phone calls of children who are at home because they cannot get bursaries. So it is not the members who are suffering, it has elevated students who have not been able to understand they will make to the end through education.
The CDF motion, sponsored by Matungulu MP Stephen Mule and Gichugu counterpart Gishumu Githinji, is credited for monumental development of constituencies. Nevertheless, the fund is only limited to address education and security at the constituency.
As we speak today, there is no court order, not of the High Court, not of the Court of Appeal, not of the Supreme Court, that stops disbursement of the CDF under the 2015 Act. None. And I want to urge that even as we meander our ways through this amendment, let the CDF be disbursed because it is constitutional as we speak.
We must choose as a house to assert ourselves and make this move so that this debate, this haggling, this back and forth with the judiciary is put to rest once and for all.
I stand here as one person who was educated by bursaries. I know the importance of this.
The parliamentarians equally want Ng-Cdf disbursement scale up from 2.5% to 5% of government's budget, and it is scope expanded.
To urge this House to consider including water, because the people that are suffering even now are the members of parliament. People are calling the members of parliament even to supply water.
I know every member in this house is under pressure from the public and the community and the constituency we represent
to make sure that students are in school.
It feels so good, Mr. Speaker, when a young man comes and tells me, Madam Kihara, I went to school courtesy of your CDF and I'm working in this place.
The Member of Parliament have adopted the parliamentary initiative to amend the Constitution, where for the bill to sail through, it will require 2/3 majority in both the National Assembly and the Senate before the President can sign it into law.
Is essentially an enemy of the people. There can be no greater enemy of the people than that person who is trying to sabotage Ng-Cdf.
Nerima Wekesa for Maisha Prime News, Maisha Television.